everybody, and welcome back to the Jack and Sean Show. Jack and Solomon, and today we're going to be walking through my top 25 teams for weeks number 5 and 6 of the college football season. Last week was week 5. I didn't do the rankings. This week is week 6, and we're going to get back on that schedule and that track. So don't forget to leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, and as always, I'm just going to get straight into today's episode. So it starts off, I'm just going to run through week number 5, the rankings. So the honorable mentions for week 5 were San Diego State, Kansas, Washington, Mississippi State, and Memphis. 25 to 20, Auburn, Arizona State, Missouri, Utah, Vanderbilt, USC. 19 to 15 was 19 to 16, Georgia Tech, Illinois, Michigan, Tennessee. 15 to 11, Alabama, Ole Miss, Florida State, Texas A&M, Oklahoma. 10 to 7, Iowa State, Texas Tech, Texas, Indiana would be 7, Oregon would be 6, Miami is 5, LSU is 4, Georgia is 3, Penn State is 2, and Ohio State is 1. That was for last week. Just so anybody doesn't get confused, nobody fell out of the rankings, and nobody moved in to them as well. This week was a little different, though. We had a couple of top teams near the bottom of that list I just talked about fall out of the rankings. We're going to start with, how about the honorable mentions for this week? But before we get to the honorable mentions, we got to mention the teams that fell out of the rankings. Number 20, USC. Lost to Illinois, and I kind of figured, they're probably not going to beat them. So, they're probably not going to beat them. I had them losing to Illinois. I also have them out of my rankings. Number 25, Auburn. Back-to-back losses against two really good football teams. Understandable, but still, I don't know, a little questionable on that. So, we move on to the honorable mentions. I did put Auburn in there. I just feel like Auburn's still a good football team. Number 29 in the honorable mentions is Navy. Undefeated in the American, and they are undefeated in the conference. They play Notre Dame soon, and they're just playing really good football. And I like Navy, and I think they're going to win that conference, if not for another team that I have in the honorable mentions. All right, Notre Dame is 28. Good win versus Arkansas, but teams like Miami and Texas A&M, you wonder if they both had quality wins. We're going to find out this weekend when they take on Boise State. Obviously, Boise State hasn't played really well, but neither has Notre Dame, so that's a big time question mark, coin flip, thing like that. Notre Dame, though, did play really well against Arkansas, so I had to put them in the honorable mentions for that reason and that reason alone. Number 27, I have Houston. The Houston Cougars are undefeated. Granted, they played little to no competition in the conference. I feel like once you play a TCU or a BYU, things are bound to change. But right now, they haven't really played anybody. So, I don't have them in the rankings yet. Number 26, I have North Texas. You want a group of 5 school to watch. North Texas might be our team. We got 2 American Conference teams in the honorable mentions. Wait till we get to the actual rankings because I got a team in there that I really like. But North Texas, just like Navy, undefeated, could finish the season that way, could win the American Conference, and could make the college football playoff. We'll have to find out about that later on in the season. We move on to the actual rankings. 25, I have Memphis. This was the other team I'm talking about. They're undefeated. They weren't ranked last week, but I've liked Memphis. They're not the standard Memphis, where they're primarily running the ball. That's their strength. Their strength is their defense. They play really good defense, and I believe that is the strength of the team, and I like that. So, Memphis is the team that I would pick to win the conference, but anything can happen. Anything. Number 24 is BYU, also undefeated, also playing really well. The I wasn't really high on BYU. I was at the beginning of the season. I did have them in the honorable mentions, and I did talk about BYU for a little bit, but I didn't really put them in there. They kind of were impressive to me, but now they're starting to make a name for themselves. Now they're starting to impress, so I'll put them at 24. 23, I have Florida State. I did put Virginia in my rankings, and I just feel like last week was a fluke. Like last week, okay, you beat a top 10 team. Florida State didn't play that great, though. So I feel like, you're going to have to, you're going to have to kind of figure things out as you go along. But this game that you played against Florida State doesn't mean you're as good as or even better than Florida State. We're still going to have to figure that out. So, and that's a big time question mark for Virginia. Can they beat Louisville this weekend? Can they do it? We're gonna find out. Florida State 3-1 beat Alabama, which turns out was a quality win for Florida State. But outside of Alabama, they don't play anybody else. They play Miami this weekend, and that might honestly be my game of the week. Better than Vandy Bama. Better than Vandy Bama, party people. But you know what? We're going to find out on Saturday. And whenever I release the prediction episode. Okay, 22 is Arizona State. Granted, they did lose to Mississippi State, but Mississippi State looks like they're really good. Good defense. And they played really well. And Arizona State was a thriller Friday night versus TCU. Played really good. So they're at 22. 21 is Missouri, 5-0, undefeated, playing really well. I like Missouri, and I think Missouri could potentially be a threat to a team like Alabama or a team like Oklahoma. They are really, really good. So you got to keep your eyes peeled. You got to keep your eyes open and watch out for them. All right. Number 20, I have Utah. Bounce back game against West Virginia. I hate to do this to Mr. Pat McAfee. He was just inducted into the West Virginia Hall of Fame, but is West Virginia bad at football? Because they're not. Are they bad at football? That's a question mark? I don't really know. But Utah, that offense looked much better, and that tells you a lot about Texas Tech, what their defense is. They're right now, honestly, I had Iowa State winning the conference, but Texas Tech, they'd be my sleeper to win that Big 12 conference just because Iowa State's destined for a fall off. They're destined for it. And Texas Tech has flew under the radar for long enough. They're inside the top 10 now. They're destined to make a name for themselves, and I think they can win that conference. Number 19 is Vandy. Show me. We're talking about Vanderbilt like they're... We're going to talk about Vandy as if they're a top 10 team. This is your show me weekend. This is where you prove it to me. Prove to me that you are one of the best teams in college football. Prove it. That's all you got to do. All right. Number 18, Georgia Tech, 5-0. Close call versus the Demon Deacons Saturday, though. Close call. You're you're definitely going to want to keep an eye on Georgia Tech because they're a real threat, and I think they can win the conference. But oh wait, there's a little school in Florida that is also really good that didn't have the opportunity to win that conference last year, even though they should have. I can't even remember the last time Miami went to the ACC championship game, if I'm being honest. Number 17 is Illinois. Bounce back win versus Indiana. Illinois is not bad. They just played good competition. And I feel like when they play Ohio State, second half offense, they only get things going in the second half, right? Illinois has an opportunity to beat Ohio State. They just cannot have the same types of mistakes they had when they played Indiana, which was bad protection up front for your guy. Bad protection up front. It wasn't great, so yeah. Number 16 is Michigan. They didn't play this week. They had the bye. They play Wisconsin on Saturday. So they got a tough test coming up. Number 15 is Tennessee. 4-1. Close game versus Mississippi State. Mississippi State, that defense is better than it was last year. They return as minimum of players as possible, and teams like Vanderbilt, Mississippi State, turning things around, and schools like Clemson at the bottom of their conference. Man, we really are living in the upside down right now. But yes, Tennessee is at number 15. They're 4-1. Really good. If the controversy hasn't already started, this is where it begins. Number 14, I have Georgia. And I think this has been a long time coming for the Dogs. Because when we looked at Georgia this offseason, we said, well, I don't know what Georgia's going to be, because that was a completely different team last offseason. That team is nowhere near the same team that it is right now. They didn't have Jalen Walker, Malachi Starks this year. They don't have them. They're not on Georgia this season. And so it's a completely different team, and that defense is completely different. Carson Beck is no longer there. Trevor Etienne. I don't have any problems with the offense. The offense, they held their own versus Tennessee. They were able to get close in that game versus Alabama. It's just, they struggled on the back end of it with the, how do I say this? They struggled on the back end. And the play calling wasn't really great. I did watch the entirety of that game, but Georgia 14, it's something that they've had coming. I feel like that this has been something that, when we talk about Georgia defense is not that great. Secondary is not that great. I mean, it was the first big third down of the game for Alabama, and Ryan Williams was wide open. He was, I'm not even kidding. And he just dropped the ball. Disappointing. Number 13 is LSU. I like LSU more than I like Georgia right now, for a very good reason. It's just LSU has played at a higher level. Granted, the offense is kind of the reciprocal. The offense has had more issues than the offense have had more issues than the defense has, which is the exact opposite for Georgia. But still, Georgia, that defense, LSU's defense, I believe, is much better. I like the secondary more. Harold Perkins, Patrick Payton. I love that combo. The offense has to get things clicking, though. Last week, I'll give them an exception because Caden Durham didn't play. And that's a big-time blow, but I checked the halftime score. They were losing. Was not impressed with LSU. Number 12, I have Texas A&M. I didn't move them up or down. They kind of stayed where they were, and honestly, I have no idea why. I don't know why. They played a good Auburn team, but the offensive line is a giant question mark. For Texas, or for Auburn at least. For A&M, they look really good. And I said it after the Notre Dame game. I'm like, their defense is much better than what they played at South Bend. And it was 1,000%. Their defense was incredibly better. So, and the offense has played great. Marcel Reed looks like the quarterback that we thought he'd be. And things kind of worked out for him. And I can't say for sure if Connor Wegman's the quarterback at Houston. I don't think he's the starting quarterback. Let me see real quick. Yeah, he is. So I guess things worked out for both Wegman and Marcel Reed. The decision, I'm sure, was very difficult, but Wegman has played great, and so has Marcel Reed. Both of them have played better than ever. Number 11 is Oklahoma. Once again, this is another team where it's kind of like, show me. No John Mateer. They're probably a good chance that I move Oklahoma down just because no John Mateer. But with the teams that they've beaten so far this season, Auburn, who could be really good this year, and Michigan, who could be really good this year, there's a potential there for a loss. Or there's a potential there for your resume is not good enough, and you have to go out and prove it. You have to go out and beat Bama. And you have to go out and you have to beat Texas. And you have to go out and you have to beat Missouri. These are the things that I don't think enough people talk about. This is something that should be discussed, is what is Oklahoma like after John Mateer's injury? And it's major. A month, he's out for Georgia, Florida. He's out for... he's out for Texas, Oklahoma. He's out this week. Following week, it's gonna run. But this week, I believe they're playing Kent State. Let me see if I got this right. Yeah, they're playing Kent State Saturday, and hopefully, they can kind of find a way to prove and play good without John Mateer, who, honestly, between him and Childress, my two favorite players to win the Heisman right now. Over Jeremiah Smith and Ryan Williams. Ryan Williams has a problem catching the ball. We're going to talk about Alabama. We're going to talk about Alabama in a minute. We have Iowa State at number 10. Didn't move up, didn't move down. They had a bye. Texas Tech didn't move up, didn't move down. They had a bye. Iowa State played Saturday. They beat, I believe it was Arizona, who people talked about like, Arizona's going to be really good this year. And I'm just like, they won 4 games last year. You got to show me. Let's kind of prove it. So, Iowa State, they're destined for an upset, though, for sure. For sure. Number 8. Jeez, this is always a good one. Alabama. That defense played much better Saturday night than they did when they went to Tallahassee. Much better. Ty Simpson played much better since he left, or since they played against Florida State. This offense has clicked on a completely different level, and they play Vandy this week. And that defense that's at Vandy right now could cause Alabama some problems, but you know what I think? I think they'll overcome it. They had a little bit of trouble defensively. I think the final score last year was 45-42, but this defense is playing much better, and there's experience on this defense too, so they understand what they're doing. And they caused turnovers last week. They got stops on 3rd and 4th down. They were really good last week. And Alabama's offense much improved since that first game of the season. Number 7 is Penn State. The Nittany Lions, because I'm not willing to rule them out just yet. I feel like there's still something that Penn State has to show. We're going to see it when they go to the Horseshoe. You can't, and this is the kicker, you can't lose to Oregon and Ohio State and make the playoff. Even if those are the 2 best teams in the country, you can't lose to both and make the playoff. If they play Michigan, you got a problem, but they don't. They play Indiana, but when you go to the Horseshoe, that's a must-win game for Penn State. It's granted, Ohio State won the national championship game last year with 2 losses, but your case won't be as good. You won't have a home game. You're going to be going on the road, and that's a recipe for disaster. Penn State is 7. Texas is number 6. They had to bye this week. They go to the Swamp, take on Florida. Top 5. We get into it. Indiana, undefeated. Close game, but that defense was able to hold out, and Fernando Mendoza and the offense were able to score points at the end of the game. Ole Miss is at 4. Why do I put Ole Miss? Because of Trinidad Chambliss and how well I can't get over that name, Trinidad Chambliss. But how well Ole Miss's offense functioned against LSU was really, really impressive, and I like the way they played. So yes, Miami's number 4. They have 2 bad wins. How I would define a bad win is you won the game, but you beat a bad team. That's a bad win to me. There's reality of the situation is there's no such thing as a bad win. A win is a win, right? Granted, if you're a team like Florida State and you beat Alabama, that's a good win because, Alabama's going to be good this year and somewhat decent. But, Florida State. Miami does not have that. You beat a good team, you've proven it to me. Florida State right now is on the brink of not being a good team. Granted, they do have that good win, but they're on the brink of not being a good team. So it's a prove-it game Saturday night in Tallahassee. At number 2, I have Oregon and self-explanatory. I don't like Dante Moore still, but I do think that Oregon defense is unstoppable. Find an offense that can score as many points on that Oregon defense. I don't even think Ohio State can put up points against the Oregon defense. They look like they have a problem. Number 1 is Ohio State still, in my opinion, have the best win in the country over Texas, but it's getting really slim. Oregon, great win. Ole Miss, great win. Alabama, all right, I'll question mark for Alabama, but Ohio State, that time frame where you still have the best win is getting smaller and smaller. You can prove it with games like, we play Illinois, Penn State, Michigan. That's how we prove it. But right now, you don't have the best win in the country right now. I think the best win in the country belongs with Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss. So, there's that. That's the top 25 for this week. Like, comment, and subscribe, please. It means so much to you. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of The Jackson Show. And as always, bring a friend.